No. Desire is the contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you desire. Yeah. Oh my fucking God, what?
Exactly. And once you see it like that, automatically you're like, snap, I need to reduce my desires.
Yes. Desires we have.
I don't need all this shit.
Okay, let me pull out my copy. What's up, guys?
You know what it is.
We're rolling.
Yeah.
And we're back.
We're back again.
With more people.
With more people this time.
Yes.
It's getting more and more difficult to produce this podcast. we definitely need some sort of a studio or something like that.
Yeah.
100%.
But you know why we're all here? We recently read, I think, one of my favorite books ever.
You want to introduce everybody first?
Should
I? They don't know who they are. They have no idea who these people are. You just
people have
going
never
straight
seen
into
me
it.
before.
Did we introduce Renee last? Oh, we did.
What do you mean? I did this actually in the last freaking episode. So you have no personal decor, bro.
Okay.
You're just out here. You just
I'm getting roasted on this. This always happens, but I feel like this is always the tone.
It's all good.
But always, okay, so we have Tshego on all the way on that side. Can everybody see that? That's Tshego, yeah, Tshego, and then that's Miles over there. They're all part of the book club. Very exciting to be here. I don't know if you want to say other extra things to yourself, or it's not relevant to...
I think it would be a bit dramatic if I suggested
Just
a whole discography. Yeah, but it's exciting to have them here. Faces that you're probably going to see throughout the duration of the podcast over the years, in and out. We'll have different people.
Yeah, subscribe, guys. These are the loyals, bro.
Yeah, 100%.
We've got inside. Subscribe, like, do the things, guys.
You'll end up here.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the point.
You probably also end up here on the podcast.
Yeah.
We want to
Click on
grow
the
the
subscribe
network.
button.
Yeah.
I don't know where we gonna put it.
I don't think we've done that yet.
Oh, we're not there yet.
We haven't done that
We'll
yet.
put it in the editing. We're going to try it in the editing. Subscribe button right here.
That's a level.
I think let's show the book that we're here for, if nobody minds. But yeah, this is the book that we read. Thumbnail time. Other camera. We read the Almanack of Naval.
Revolve.
Naval.
You wanna try that again?
This is a bad day for you.
It's not a good day.
Revolve?
It doesn't matter about the start.
Jeez, yeah. We've been reading.
Too. It's fine. It's okay. We also will
It
get
happens.
jitters.
It happens.
Yeah, and it's fine.
We've been reading the Almanack of Naval Ravikant. I started by saying this might be... What's so funny this time? I started by saying this might be one of my favorite books of all time. And I think Katlego might debate me on this, because you said, Katlego, that it was just...
When I first read it, innit?
Yeah.
I think, like I said to you, remember, I said I'm hoping for the cheat codes. I was hoping for, like, remember, you were there.
Yeah.
I was like hoping for, like, because I said to you, there's a certain level of crazy you have to be in order to, push this one thing and one thing only,
To be an entrepreneur.
Well, I mean, to gain at large scale specific knowledge on something, and to endure, and to, even when building a business, for instance, right? Enduring, going through the hard times, the scale, that it takes a certain level of courage and craziness. You need to, like I said, you need to be up at 12 a.m. and be like, I just slept, I'm fresh, let's go. Let's keep going,
What if I think you were expecting this extraordinary life that maybe wealthy people live, or people that you think have done great things live, and you didn't get that here?
No, I was looking for...
Like, you'd be surprised that wealthy people actually sleep?
Right. right. Yeah, I was looking for... Okay, because it seems like hard work is at the top of everything, right?
Yeah.
And you think that, to obviously gain specific knowledge and gain, I don't know, a lot of experience, right? You would need to perpetuate that hard work over and over and over again. And then, I just felt like I was looking for someone to tell me what that's all about, Like, I came across something, I think outside of this book, right? That where they were talking about how fathers should be there to explain, like, a man's position or role in just life, how you're supposed to put your family on your back. And this may not be the views of everybody else, but I'm just saying, and it doesn't dawn on me. I don't know if that makes sense. It doesn't make all the sense to be working until 3 a.m. just to push this thing, because don't get me wrong, lots of us work and lots of us sleep, you know. But when you're sleeping and I'm working, 10 times out of 10, I'm gonna get there before you. 10 times out of 10. Kobe Bryant will tell you that too, even though he's not here. R.I.P. Kobe. 10 times out of 10. I mean, if I wake up earlier, sleep later, work my schedule around more work, I'm going to get there before you. I'm going to get there before you.
Miles.
Unless you're white.
It sounds like he's describing a very hyper-competitive world that we're all in. And it seems like now, because of globalization, we're not just competing with people in our areas anymore. We're competing with the entire world to build businesses. And it's like, how do you compete with the world, right? How do you be in the top 1%? It's a bit scary what he's describing, because he's saying that you kind of have to beat everyone. And I think in the book, Naval talks about being the best at what you do. And if you can be the best in the world at what you do, I think the world is really just a metaphor. Then everybody will pay you to do that thing, and they'll pay you well if you are a fraction above the rest. I think he specifically mentions above that. So do you believe we live in that kind of hyper-competitive world, and that you need to be working more than everyone? You know, we all need to be living on the bleeding edge, sleeping as less as you can, working as hard as you can in order to get somewhere.
Sound so terrible, but that is like I said it in a yes
way.
motivation way, and he said it in a damn this is so terrible.
Look, I think it's case specific, because I think, you know, I also come from a background where, you know, I used to believe that, you have to go. It's for the grind. You have to put in everything all the time. And I think I just got to a point where it's like, but that doesn't make sense though. Because we talk about, you know, you want to be in a well-oiled machine. You want to work like a machine, but machines switch off.
Load shedding.
You know, like,
It's a real thing.
You know, for you to have a well-oiled machine, that machine needs maintenance. It's not working all the time.
But then how do you compete then with people? How do you compete, Miles, if you got to switch off? What gives you the edge, I guess?
I think there's a nuance there, because I think when we're talking about the idea of competing, we make it seem like you need to run the race that everybody else is running. And I don't think that's what it is at all. I think it's one of those things where people spend so much time trying to overcome hurdles and obstacles that I don't think they were ever designed for them. So I can't look at you and think to myself, well, Masego's waking up at this time, so I got to do the same thing. I don't have your resources. I don't have your life. I don't have your time. You know, so for me, who has all the other 100 things I need to take care of, and I don't get any sleep, it means that I'm not performing in any of those other areas of my life. So now I'm trying to overcome obstacles based off of a context that was never meant for me. And therefore, even though I think I'm competing in the bigger scheme of things, what I'm really doing is I'm trying to live up to a story that was not meant for me to live up to. And therefore, I end up squandering my potential. So I think there's a place for hard work, and I think it's a very important part of it. Nobody can deny it. Like, you need to put in the hours. The 10,000 hours rule is not a joke. You need to put in the hours. But, you know, everything has its context. You know, it's not just run all the time, because at some point in time, your muscles will die out. And what's the point of running to the end of the race if you end up dying along the way, you know?
And you know what? Like, just out of that description that you put, I think it falls in nicely with this book, because this book, compared to other, let's say, get-rich books, or, you know, talking about wealth, talking about happiness, talking about how you can make it into the top 1%, this book is not necessarily saying, do this, do that, do that. It's really just nuggets of wisdom, right? Like, even that one we said about hard work, right? Naval said hard work is important, but it's not as important as, like, what you do and the people that you do it with, right? So even coming from this book, I understand, Kat, where it's like you come with a certain expectation, because these are what these books usually feed you, right? Do this, wake up at this time, you know, you should own this, you should clock in at this certain times. But this book, it's more philosophical in its writing, and I appreciate that a lot. And even one thing that I saw this morning, right, was that it said that this book, Naval doesn't profit off of it, because he was like, if he was to profit off of it, he will give that certain descriptions of do this, do that. But he's giving like timeless principles on how we can actually achieve, you know, being the 1% of our own self, you know, not comparing it to anybody. So, yeah, it's
I think, you know, you said something very important there. And I think it speaks to one of the things he said, which is that there's no permanent solutions in a dynamic system. So if we think about that in the context of hard work, that's not always going to be the solution. Like if you're always working really, really hard, but you're working in circles, you're just running in circles very fast. And you're going nowhere quickly, So I think it has to be very, very directed. He described how if the brain is a muscle, just like most of your muscles, you need to rest it because it's a very important part of being able to make sure you perform when you need to perform. But it's not always game time, and I think that's the thing that always gets taken out of context when we have these conversations of, oh yeah, you need to hustle, you need to grind. It's a very important part of it, but like, at what point is peace of mind something we're also going to discuss?
100%.
Yeah, that's very true. I like the fact that he said there's context in hard work or working smart or whatever the case may be, because we are living in a very competitive world. That's very true. And everyone competes differently, right? You can compete, with yourself. You can compete with your peers or your idols or your enemies or whatever the case may be, but I think the healthiest competition should be with yourself. You mentioned rest, how important rest is, and how not every time is crunch time or go hard time, which is very true. And the idea of being a hustler is exactly that, where you team no sleep. I've heard that a lot, and that's also part of it being a myth, hard work being a myth, that you need to work hard, don't sleep, always grinding, chase paper, don't chase people. Those are myths that people create over time and leave them in a trap of not knowing how to scale, not knowing how to expand, not knowing how to understand what they're doing, right? Because information is important. First and foremost, you need to know what you're doing. So you need to be reading into industries. You need to be reading who's doing what where. And that's how you scale. You don't scale by hustling all the time. Because I can speak from experience where I was pursuing music at some point. And at some point I felt like I'm doing the same thing. Meeting the same people, going to the same gigs. Not getting enough pay. Like, sometimes there was no pay. And I just felt like I'm not doing anything. I'm just chasing my dreams. And that's what chasing your dream really is. You're just chasing it and there's no expansion unless you're very lucky. The book talks about luck, 4 types of luck.
You know what? I want to chime in because I've been listening to everybody speak, and Tshego, on your journey, I can say specifically from advice from the book, what was missing from your journey is leverage, and it also speaks to Katli. I think you are relying too much on your ability to beat other people, right? You as a human being, to outwork other people, to outsmart other people, to read more, to try and make yourself this successful thing. And the book speaks a lot about leverage, where somebody who's not as smart as you, not working as hard as you, can out-leverage you. And the word leverage just means being able to extend yourself further than yourself, right? Yeah. So you can use different things as leverage. And I like that this book lists out the different kinds of leverage you can use, right? Whether it's capital is a form of leverage. Whether it's code, he said code is all of our cameras have just been knocked off. So
it's gone.
I'm sure you heard the baby running around. At least one is still recording. The main one, we'll switch to it now. But I need a second to fix the different cameras. Let me finish off my point just before I do that.
Sure.
So you find that there are people not as smart as you, but that are outperforming you in the game of wealth. And I think this book does a lot to cover a lot of nuances, right, in the conversation about wealth. And leverage is a big nuance in that. I think you can't rely mainly on yourself, and you need to take a step back. I think the people that are hustle grinding are the ones losing out on time to think and reflect and strategize. I think people with strategies really win more in this world than people with action. It used to be an action world. Before the internet, before the kinds of leverage that we are exposed to today, before media and the internet, social media and the internet and coding and computers, then we had to rely on it's my muscles, it's my work ethic. I will run faster than you. I will work harder than you. But now it's like there's so much leverage, right, on these platforms, whether it's media, whether it's internet, that now your strategies will matter more. Your strategies and judgment will matter more than how hard you work.
Right.
On that note, I'm going to fix the cameras while you comment on that.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, so I think it speaks to this concept that I heard, and it goes: certain things don't come from what you do; they come from what you receive. And it speaks to this idea that we think, we always have an overinflated idea of how much we can do on our own. So the hustle grind culture glorifies that, and you can see it in the conversations we have. So I'll use school as an arbitrary concept. So you'll find that if two people are studying for a paper, one will say something like, I was studying till 3 a.m. 3 a.m. nigga, I was studying till 4 a.m.
It's a competition.
It becomes a competition, and it's because of we've gotten to a state where we glorify struggle so much because we feel that the struggle validates whatever it is that we're trying to do. And I think to a very large extent, we know that struggle is part of it. We know that difficulty is going to come with it, but it's not the whole story.
100%.
I can,
100%.
and that speaks to the idea of leverage. There's only so much that I can do before I receive,
100%.
and I think if you're always doing, you're not in a position to receive because you don't even know what's out there to be gotten.
I agree with you guys. I agree with you, right?
But
there's always a but.
I saw that but.
Fat ass but. Everything that you guys are saying, strategizing, reflection, meditation, all of this, that's all shit you have to do. That's all shit you have to do. It's not, because I can go home right now and say, like the other day I told myself that I was meditating when I was listening to Kendrick in my car and it was loud. And obviously it's meditation for me because of my goals now, the way my direction of life is going right now, and the things that I've learned about Black consciousness and stuff through being a part of this group. It's part of my meditation. But it was a joke because at the end of the day, I'm listening to music. But at the same time, it was serious. But it's all doing something. Now I could be doing that as opposed to meditating, and one being, I don't want to say one being better than the other, but one being more entertaining and one being more, zen. I don't know if I'm using the right words, but I don't read dictionaries too often. But one being more zen, one being more, zen, one being more entertaining, one being more wily, energetic, stuff like that, right? But it's all shit you have to do, And my thing is, I think you need to be crazy to detach, unplug. I was telling someone it's the Matrix.
I disagree.
Unplug,
I disagrey.
Hold on, let me finish my thought. You have to be insane.
That phone is gonna break, bro.
I think he's going for it too.
Yeah, he wants our attention, but it's okay. There's still two very good angles on us.
Facts. Right. So you have to be crazy to detach in some sense, to even detach and reattach yourself, because at the same time, like you said, it's not always grind, right? So you have to detach and you come back and you think about life and say, all right, I'm on this course, this is where I'm going, let me look at it from a big larger perspective. Okay, this is where I am, okay, this is where I'm trying to go. Meditate outside yourself, and then you've got to come out, all right, cool. And then you look at all life. Mark Manson says there's so many fucks going around, you have to pick your fucks, and you see all these fucks flying around, COVID, everything, load shedding, blah, blah, everybody's talking about this. Jada Pinkett.
Yeah.
I was looking for that. I was waiting for you, someone to say Smith. He almost did. It was so
Sit under his breath.
But anyway, all this stuff is happening, and everything is happening. And then you need to, put that in the corner. Right. And then you need to go back to work. You know what I mean? And all of this. And then there's life. Me and myself, we had a conversation about just life, just general. You guys have a kid. I can't even imagine. You should be team no sleep. You should be on my side right now. Because this shit is real.
Because she has a kid, I'm sure she'd say team sleep whenever you can. Right?
We out here.
Okay, I think...
But think about how crazy it is for someone to say, I want 15 of them. You're going to go, geez, all that no sleep. But in their mind, it's like you have to be a little bit...
Crazy.
Yeah. That's how I feel. And that's what I was looking for when I first started the book. But then, I'll explain my journey. This is why I'm going to answer you.
Okay.
Then, before this, Emmanuel, you said that this is different to Rich Dad Poor Dad and other wealth guidebooks, right?
Yeah.
And I disagree.
Okay.
Not that it's not clearly painted enough. I mean, don't get me wrong. This guy paints it a lot more thoroughly with the leverage, right? But the message for me is the same, right?
Okay.
And I think when I first read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I got the message. I quit my job. Even when I read the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, I quit my job because the message was kind of not in subtle art. He wasn't talking too much about business, but it was really talking about fucks to give, specific knowledge, fucks to give. Don't give a fuck about everything.
Yeah.
Pick a thing to fuck about. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Cool. So I quit my job and I got home and I was like, shit, I don't give a fuck about anything. It's just money. I just really just want a lot of money in my pocket. And I could go strip. I could go become a porn star or something, you know? And then it starts to align in who you are, what you want to be, the risks, and all that type of stuff, you know what I mean? And then you start to throw all these other factors in and then you decide, okay, this is where I'm going. This is my space, right? And that's what I learned today, right? So when I call myself crazy today and when other people call me crazy, because I quit my job again. You guys all know this.
Yeah.
You know, now I quit my job again and I've quit it with a more thoughtful approach with regards to this. And I think for me, the only difference, right, between that book and this book is that instead of taking it and then having that rush of blood take me and go and quit and then look at myself very blankly afterwards, I took the book, I read it, and I said, okay, ask him. I finished it before. I wasn't even bothered about the region shape.
Yeah.
I finished it. I made actions, and I went back and I said, all right, this is exactly what I'm going to do, right? And I went through each of the steps in the book, and I said, okay, this is how I'm going to use my leverage. You know, I'm not going to explain it right now because I don't want to go too much into business or whatever. But you know, that's how I feel. You know,
you mentioned something important,
right?
A point of contention for me. You mentioned that you need to be a little bit crazy to perform at the level that I think maybe you're saying this book needs to allow you to perform or just to achieve anything great in life, right? Or to be wealthy. Let's get specific.
Okay, let's get specific.
What do you need to be crazy for? To build wealth? To be really smart?
So for
to have specific knowledge?
Okay.
What do you need to be crazy for?
Okay, for me, so this is the viewpoint of being crazy. And I can't one word it, right? So I have a dream, right? He's giving you your phone back.
Thank you.
That was a good gesture. Yeah. I'm done roasting you. Cool. So, from my viewpoint, right, we all know, this is my favorite word in the book, entropy. We had a discussion. If we all sit down and do nothing, right, things descend into chaos. This is just fact. I mean, look at us as slaves. That's not funny. That's not funny. Yeah. If you sit down and do nothing, everybody does nothing right now, right? Everything descends into chaos. So, for instance, if we sat here for 5 days and did nothing, chaos would just ensue on its own, you know? The windows haven't been closed. There's bats in the house. The fucking, we're hungry now. We're starving. You know, our bodies are malfunctioning. There's no power because no one's working at the station. There's no more power. There's no, you know, if we sit and do nothing, things just descend
into chaos.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And for me, it happened again, and I saw it.
I saw it too.
Yeah. And for me, if we don't do something, they continue that way, right?
Yeah.
So I have a dream. I've explained this dream to all of you, so I don't think I've explained it to you. But I have a dream where we have a community that works on a currency that is not owned by government, and we all have our own governance in this community, right? That's always I've always had that dream. It would be so nice to kill someone and not have a cop charge me for it.
That's not where I thought it was going.
But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You understand what I'm saying?
Move away?
Does it still make sense, or am I losing the plot here? Does it still make sense?
No, we're still with you.
Yeah.
I don't mean literally. I'm not gonna go kill someone, but I'm just, you know what I mean? Cool. So with that being said, that's my dream, right? And I feel like if I sit and too much. Don't get me wrong. Sitting is necessary. Sleep is necessary.
It sounds like what you're saying is you need to be crazy just to be alive. That's what it sounds like.
Right, because a lot of us, I feel like, personally, don't take offense, a lot of us are unconscious. We're not, understanding what's happening, in life, the way the world works, everything. We don't understand it, But we're fine with watching TV, Netflix, 4-hour schedules, freaking knowing Muvango, scheme Sam, scheme Sam, Muvango.
Yeah, religiously.
Everything to the T. And I'm like, man, how is this helping us? How is this even,
I want to change your words. I think I get what you're saying now. So you're talking for the person who has no clue what's going on with the world. That you need to kind of snap out of it, and then you
Right.
realize
It's
that,
the
oh my
Matrix.
God, there's so much work to do.
It's the
And
Matrix.
that's
And then
where
that
the feeling of
feeling
you have to be crazy to
Because
achieve
now you
it.
have to keep going,
Comes from.
and people are gonna, already. My mom already. I quit my job. She was like, "This nigga, already. Before we go far."
Yeah.
And I have to be, so rooted in
Yeah.
my shit that I'm not going to let even sleep come in my way. Sorry, I did it.
You did
I'm
the
sorry.
bang
I'm sorry.
thing.
So I'm not trying to say, guys, go out there, don't sleep until 5
Yeah.
Don't sleep for 4 days consecutive while
Yeah.
you're working on this cool thing, and it will be the best thing that ever's been created. No,
Yeah.
because on the second day you're probably gonna be a
burn
lot
out.
slower than me,
Yeah.
who has rested. So I might catch up, but
Yeah.
just like this math there,
Yeah.
maybe
I
4
think-
hours instead of 18.
I think you're making a sober observation of how much you need to do once you realize how much you haven't been doing.
Right.
And that's where the anxiety and the craziness can feel like, oh my God, man, I'm bad at time management. Man, I'm bad at relationships. Man, I'm bad at...
Preparation. My
I'm bad at-
preparation is so shit, And then you realize it's only when you're conscious, when you, stop plugging yourself into YouTube and just sitting there and,
I want to add... Sorry.
I think,
Can I just say
No,
this?
still go. Fuck you, myself.
I think it's a good thing.
She's on team no sleep. So
Okay.
I feel like she's on my side.
She's on your side.
No, I think it's a good thing to be aware, to be conscious, and I don't think it's everyone's purpose or role to be conscious. Imagine if everybody on planet Earth was conscious of what they were doing and what they have to do. We'd be a super Earth, right? We'd be functioning on a different level.
Right.
Our government would be on a different level.
I don't think we'd have a government in it.
Exactly. We
We'd have
wouldn't be having.
electricity.
Yeah,
Electricity, no, for real.
we wouldn't be having these conversations,
Facts,
right?
yeah.
But this is the reality. And I think I've learned that it's a blessing to be in the position that you are, to be around friends like this, to have these
Well,
conversations, right? To be aware, like they say, is a curse and a blessing.
Yeah.
And I can relate to
Yeah, no, I felt that one.
Rewind.
yeah.
Say that again, please.
Yeah.
Rewind on that for the people at the back as well.
Yeah. To be aware and conscious can be a curse and a blessing, but we'd rather try see it in a positive way. I can relate to what you're saying when looking at your family and feeling like, why aren't you doing something? Why aren't you doing this and this and this? And when we look at our parents, for instance, right? Because they're coming from a different time, different era, different mindset. It's completely different to where we are. It can be so frustrating because for you, it's easy to think. It's easy for you to do, even on a micro level, to do something. Go feed the dog or go water, whatever. On a micro level, it's easy to do. But for them, the whatever they've been through, the trauma, the lack of opportunity, the lack of experience, exposure has led them to that, right? And I guess I'm digressing, but compassion is important, right? And you need to understand also that it could just be your role to be crazy and try your best to be as prepared as you can, because what I'm getting from what you're
You
saying.
have to be the crazy one.
Being crazy is being prepared. Just be prepared. I've been through the crazy myself, right? I've had times where I was winning and I was like, I felt like I was doing it. But like he said, I didn't have leverage. I wasn't reading books. I wasn't going to seminars. I wasn't surrounding myself with top tier people. I just thought like the culture. I gotta hustle, gotta get myself into that store, gotta sell my stuff. And I was doing great on that level, but I wasn't excelling.
And you know,
That's
there's a
very
funny...
relatable shit.
I'm
I'm like fighting tears, bro.
That's just a good place to be,
I wasn't excelling.
No, you're gonna love this shit. Like, this is a good place to be.
I had the realization that no, I'm not where I want to be, right? And I had to decide, do I want to stay here and scale and leverage and do all that stuff, or do I want to quit this and find a new trajectory to pursue my passions, but kind of like working from ground zero.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that
From
was
ground
scary
zero.
Right.
for me.
Yeah, and
right?
just piggybacking of what you said, Tshego, right?
Yeah, just to tee off.
Yeah, just a little bit. Like, you know, when Miles brought up
I missed that whole thing. Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. But when Miles brought up that example of, you know, when people study and they say that, okay, I have studied, you know, until 3 for
until
this
3,
exam.
yeah.
Another one said, yo, I studied until 4.
Yeah.
That's what people are chasing. And I think, you see, when you said go back to ground zero, I think that's what this book is saying.
Yeah.
It's foundational. It's no longer on your social media. It's just like hustle culture, just the culture people are doing this.
Sorry, he talks about multiplayer games versus single player games.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Sorry, just before I referenced the wrong book. this he talks about single player games versus multiplayer games, and that reminds me of that very well. Play single player games,
Single player is your
but
own way.
even in your single player game, you know, like I said, my single player game is building
like,
that community,
put in-
creating
Yeah,
that thing.
what Katli is saying is you
And
can
it's
do
just
more than
too
what you
much.
think
right.
you're doing.
I mean, look at Elon, man.
Yeah,
And Elon always says they always say some dumb shit about Elon. Oh, he's smoking on podcasts. They're always calling him out. We always calling him out for dumb shit. But that nigga works, man.
Here's the secret, Katli.
Yeah.
Here's the secret to what you're talking about. I 100% agree that a lot of people can do a lot more than what they think they can
do.
right? But those people are not working. Elon are not working. That's what we need to realize. Elon
They're
doesn't work
managing.
hard, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't. To him, he's being himself, and it has to need to be an identity thing, right? I think. Jeez.
Okay.
I heard it normally. So.
Sorry.
Like, what do you
That was epic though.
But I think that's what Naval was trying to say as well. In order to be that person that nobody can compete with, nobody can compete with you because you genuinely love what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're not working. Nobody can compete with you if the thing that feels the thing that is productive for you feels like playing. No one can compete with a person who feels like he's just playing.
Yeah.
Now I want to make a note to that too.
Can I actually make a point?
Yeah,
Because I think
can you help me write that down? Someone who's just playing, right?
Yeah.
Someone who finds stuff playing as playing.
Give me a second.
I want to go back to that, but go for it.
Yeah. So I think this actually brings me to like the thing I enjoyed most about the book. I think for you the word was entropy. That was the thing that was like the biggest thing for you.
When I learned what that word was, I blew my mind.
It's
go
different,
for it.
eh?
Yo, I was like, whoa.
No, for me, the biggest thing I took from this book was he said, people don't change.
Sure.
And I was like, for me, I spent a lot of my time rejecting that idea. Like,
Yeah.
no, people don't change. Like, what does that mean? That you're basically saying that people don't grow.
Yeah.
And I think when I stopped and I listened and I thought about it in context and I realized what he meant by people don't change. The fundamentals of who people are don't change. But the way that those fundamentals manifest is what does change. So the problem isn't necessarily that people don't change. It's one of two things. It's either that people don't know who they are, so they act on autopilot. And a lot of the ways that those fundamental manifestations manifest can be very chaotic or can be very productive. The other problem is they spend too much time trying to reject who they are. So I'll give an example for myself.
The second one is me.
Yeah.
I'm broke. Like, I'm from a broke family, but I tried, growing up, I tried to make sure that I seemed still cool. And we got it. Meanwhile, at home, man, we didn't have it. Anyway,
But when I talk about fundamentals, I look at, so for example, for me, a big fundamental of who I am is I'm an empath. That's one of the most important things to me. Now, the fundamental doesn't change, but the way that manifests changes in very different ways. So an empath can be somebody who extends a lot of kindness to other people. And in many times that's very good, but that also means I can be very gullible. It also means I can be very trusting. It also means that I can allow my ego of what I think doing good looks like, in that I want to be the reason that somebody feels good, And now it becomes more about me. So now the idea is that
I like that.
if I don't understand the fundamental, then I can't control the trajectory of where that goes. So that's the bigger issue as to where people don't change. So then you speaking now about how, we have a lot of people who are not conscious and they're not aware. And you gave Elon as a very good example. And it's like with Elon is an example of somebody who has identified the fundamentals that make him Elon and has chosen the trajectory as to where that goes. That's the part that people don't do. If you don't know that you are ABC, for example, if you don't know you're an emotional person and you just end up acting out, or you spend so much time trying to reject being emotional and whatnot, now all of a sudden you're like, no, I don't care about anything. But all of a sudden, that's all of a sudden that's deeply troubling to your soul, because it's not who you are.
Yes, you actually do care about
You do
everything.
care about everything.
A lot, a little too much actually. If you ask a couple people,
And
It's
that's
going
not a
against
problem.
yourself.
You know, like there's no problem with caring about a lot of things. The problem is when you're acting on autopilot of how much you care about, and you're not able to then direct that into a particular direction. So that's the big thing. It's like people haven't taken the time to identify what are the fundamentals that make me.
that's very deep.
Yeah.
And then how do I manifest that?
Exactly.
that's very
That's
deep.
self-awareness right there.
Yes,
That's
that
what
is
self-awareness is.
Yeah.
I think Katlego, you're gonna ask if we're gonna take a break.
So I was gonna ask if you're gonna take an intermission for Tshego, yeah.
100%. I think what Miles said is a great place to leave where we are right
I want
now.
to talk to you though about that last point. No, okay, actually it's very short too. All I want to say is,
After
because he
school,
said,
after
like you said, people don't change, right? And I agree with it to a certain degree, but I also agree with what you were saying earlier, because you were saying, now I'm forgetting what he was saying, you see?
Can drag your brain.
But all I wanted to say was, habits can change that, because we started talking about habits after that, right?
Yeah.
And we said that our habits are not aligning with the people we'd like to imagine ourselves to be.
Yeah.
So we need to change our habits to change our thinking. You said Elon is just having fun, right? I got it.
Yes.
Elon is just having fun. He's not working. He's just being himself, right?
Yes.
And you understand, you can sit and you can say, okay, my trajectory should go this way. I know I'm an emotional person. I know I'm talkative. I know I'm talking about myself here, but cool. You know, but then you can change that trajectory, right? But in changing that trajectory, it's work. It's effort,
doing.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, because like you said people don't change.
Yeah.
Well, I think they can, but it's just a lot of
No, but understand what I mean. It's
Yeah.
not that people can't change. I mean, the fundamentals don't change.
100%.
So the way that
changes.
manifests changes. So authenticity can look very different in different phases of your life. I look nothing like what I looked like 5 years ago.
Right,
you know?
right,
So
right.
the authenticity of who you are can change.
Yes.
Because that's the way you manifest those fundamentals. But
Right.
if you don't know the baseline,
Right.
you can't
Of who
change
you are.
that.
You can't change.
So you
You'll
can
be copying.
Have you
Yes.
decided, are you a person who has good morals, for
Right,
example?
exactly.
Exactly
And then,
that.
but your actions can change. What good
Yes.
morals looks like now
It
can
has
look
to-
different
right,
later on.
exactly,
But have you
exactly.
decided kind
That's
of...
who you are.
Yes.
100%.
Exactly.
Now I am on par with all of you guys. Now we can all decide that we're a person with good morals, but still, like deviate from time to time. Let's talk about Tao Te Ching, right? Everything is down. We can talk about the degrees at which your good morality is, right? Yeah. Let's go there, right?
Yes.
Cool. Now
But the fundamental is the good morality.
right? The morality being on the
Yeah.
good side, not the right. But anyway, there's a good morality that's here. Right, and then there's a good morality that's here,
there.
and this morality thinks this morality is bad.
Yeah.
Not entirely, but you know what I'm trying to say, right?
100%.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So therefore, all right. With that being said, I think that morality essentially has a technical approach. I think that a lot of people aren't taking to changing. You know, like us. We started to say, okay, we need to move our habits
To
and
add very
shift
specific things to our lives.
Habits, yeah.
and add these to forcefully so.
Because
I don't
we
want to
can
look at.
see
I don't know if you can
foresight.
look at me, but I'm looking at you guys, and I don't know if it's easy for you guys to follow these habits that we've been following. You know, like I'm getting into crypto. I don't know if you guys are aware. I'm watching articles on a daily. No one has to tell me anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know if you
habitual.
guys. It's been easy for you guys.
No.
Has it?
Hell nah.
It's been difficult as
Should be
fuck
great.
for me. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell
Tell us
you.
something.
I'm trying to tell you, because for me, honestly, as soon as YouTube opens, I'm like, oh shit, Corey Kenshin, let's go. You know what I mean? And that's just the default thing. Okay, let's take a pause.
Yeah,
now.
let's take a pause.
Let's take a
Right.
pause. Let's take a pause.
Intermission, brief intermission.
Sorry. Let's take a pause.
Jeez.
So what did you guys end off?
I was telling his ass. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Go for it.
No, because I think before you left, you were talking about how Elon's not working, right? He's having a good time.
Okay.
Okay.
Listening to that. Oh, you didn't listen to that?
I heard that.
Oh, you heard that?
Yeah.
Right? Cool. And I think Miles had a point after that. which
I
I'm not
spoke
forgetting.
about
The ground level.
ground
And
level. People don't change. People
Right.
don't change.
Ground
yes.
level and people don't change, right? So
Okay.
he was always if you know you're an emotional guy.
At least sounding a little bit different. Hold on, just before we...
Let me get in here. I'm not
there
here.
you go.
I'm not in
There
here.
he
Cool.
is.
So if you're not an emotional guy, then you wouldn't. If you know you're an emotional guy, stop spending your life trying to avoid that, rather embrace that and choose the trajectory of your emotions.
Okay.
Right? Cool. So I was saying to him that, as much as what Elon doing is fun, it's hard work. I was using an example when I first interacted with Masego. I knew about crypto and stuff and Web3. I'm in tech, so of course I knew a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not like I was really focused.
Yeah.
But with the habits we created as a
Creating
team,
even.
and still creating and continuously doing so,
Yeah.
it's become interesting. So now I've become interested in crypto, and now it's like, I watch videos. I was telling them just now, I watch videos. All right, you don't have to ask me to. You don't have to send me anything. I will watch and send it to you and be like, you better be watching this with me, dog. You know what I mean? And it's different. Like I look at myself now, I'm like, geez, what happened? What happened? I know I'm a person of good morals, good faith. I know I want to do good. Yeah. But looking at that alone is like, whoa, I can actually change like the way I look at life, my outlook on shit, I'll be like, crypto dangerous, crypto crazy, sit with myself for one session, be like, okay, give me a second, and that adjustment is another crazy thing for me. It's it's bizarre, it's out of this world. So I wanted to relate it to what he was saying, where he's saying Elon's not happy, Elon's not working. And the reason I think I still call it work is because it's still hard for me. Like I would have called watching crypto videos work back in the day when he was busy sending them to me. But because I was building a habit, now I'm like, man, this isn't work. I need to know this. I need to know this.
Is fun.
There's nothing else I'd rather do.
This is it. Right now with my time, as soon as I open YouTube, there's nothing else I'd rather do than watch a crypto video, at least first, At least first. And maybe later during the day, I'll still go back to Corey Kenshin, shout out to my dog. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean, At least I can't go through a day without saying, you know what, actually, let me get myself a bit informed on what's been happening for today.
Yeah.
Let's go find out, what Ridira is talking about. That never used to be me, ever. And it's fun now, but back when he was telling me to do it, it was not fucking fun.
It was fucking irritating. I'm not even gonna lie. It was bloody. Yo, bro, now you got me.
I got my some type of way.
Literally, bro, every time there's a message coming from, I'm like, damn, nigga. I just sat down.
That video,
Exactly. And then there would be one that's like 1 hour. Bro, I don't even watch 1 hour movies. Like, I leave after movies I've paid for.
Yeah.
When it's boring. You want me to watch this shit?
Exactly.
And now it's a thing of, exactly as you said. Like, I sit down and I'm just like, I get anxious when I haven't watched a video.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
I don't know.
I'm behind. I'm behind.
I don't know what's happening. Exactly.
And and one of the comments right at the end of the book, Naval said that the greatest superpower you can have is the ability to change yourself. And it's not change yourself to become Elon Musk. It's change yourself to become exactly what you want to be, the ideals and the values that you want to follow. Right? So it'll come to that stage where work will eventually feel like play, right? Because you're not in that space of, okay, I see this is where I'm heading, and I don't want that, right? What habits, what systems am I going to put in? You see, he didn't speak about goals even. Remember, he said he doesn't believe in goals. He believes in systems.
Right.
What systems can you put in place so that I can reach that place where everything feels like just play?
Systems and mental models. I fuck with that.
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is making
hold
me
on.
feel...
So you were going to say something earlier. You don't
but it slipped my mind now.
This happens a lot on the podcast.
Yeah.
Because you always damn talking, nigga.
You gotta find your place.
You gotta get in there.
You will survive.
You know what?
We have a lot to say.
I'm done now. But it's because earlier it felt like everybody was like, this nigga team no sleep.
No, but I think I was
just trying to show you guys. I'm trying to
There's
show you
work to...
There's something that's there. And also you can change. Like you can think, okay, this is not important to me, it's fine. And then sit and put a few habits in place and you'll be like, whoa, this is freaking important, So
nice.
Earlier we spoke about conscious people.
Yeah.
And we spoke about being aware, right? I really liked that topic because on that, Naval himself is a philosopher. And I think this is what's different from other business books. For people looking to pick up this book, I think what's different from any other business book, like a Robert Kiyosaki book or... who else is
Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill.
But that's a little bit of philosophy as well. Yeah, a little bit.
I want to challenge you there.
Because, it's Think and Grow Rich. Have you read it?
I have. And I have read the whole thing. And I think what was so interesting about this book is that it felt like, not that it contrasted the book, but it contextualized it so well.
Fundamentals.
So well.
So it's just a tier higher in philosophy. Think of Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill was talking about, more mental models, how you think, so it was a little bit philosophical, but it was on a surface level, right?
That was the main thing of the book, desire.
100% about attraction as well, how to attract it. We get it. I think Naval, and it's so funny because he speaks about specific knowledge. Naval has a specific perspective in his awareness, right? That he's learned to articulate very well. He knows him. I think the standout thing for me about Naval is how well he knows himself. And that's his superpower. And you guys need to know that as well, that that's how nobody can compete with you. Is how you learn to learn yourself, right?
I love how he said he just leaves parties. He's like, man, I'm bored, I'm out. I'm like, that's been me so many. Remember, we were at a party where we were like,
why are we here?
I wish we could leave right now. I wish we could leave right now.
Why are we here?
Yeah.
Right. So, but as I'm listening to Katli speak and everybody speak, I'm starting to realize what my takeaway from this book is that doesn't it feel like wealth is really about being able to change your identity? I think most people's identity are not personalities that attract wealth. Right? Like what most people think that they are a fixed person. It's who I am. I'm not that kind of person. I don't like books. I rather prefer this, right? And this book is making me realize that in order to get extremely wealthy, you need to be extremely able, like you were saying, to change who you are and your identity, right? And it must be authentic. It mustn't just be, I'm trying to read books, or wealthy people read books, so I'm going to try read it. You need to find good reasons for you to really be like, no, I've changed. I really do now like this. I like reading financial reports. They're fun. I understand them.
I ain't never going to cap.
Yeah, we're still getting Warren Buffett. He used to read financial reports of companies for fun, right? And he's Warren Buffett. So right.
100%. I'm not there yet, but one day I'd like to get there because you think, okay, what type of person would I like to be? And a person who understands the financial.
What's funny is you can even say I'm not there yet to know that I can change. No, like I know myself in this moment, but I know if needs be and I need to change into this type of person. Your mindset now is privileged in the sense that you can say, I'm not there yet. That's still boring to me. Financial statements are boring, but I know there's a place I can exist where it's a little more interesting. And if I need to be that to achieve what I need to achieve, I'm able to change. Some people can't do that. Some people are fixed with like, I'm like this, and they do that the rest of their lives. Nobody can argue with them.
I think language is very important because it's not they can't, they choose not to do it. It's a thing of.
I wanted to say that because your point was like base level, you're always the same person.
But they believe they can't. Don't you think?
Believe you can't, but that's a choice. That belief is a choice.
It's a choice as well.
It's a choice.
Fundamentally,
ones and zeros. All the lazy people out there. Mouse is coming for you.
Thanks.
It really does speak to that whole thing of like the importance of the mental models and the systems that you put in place. But putting that in place means you need to know what mental models work for you. Getting through this book, I'm not even gonna cap and pretend like I read the whole thing. I had to listen to the audiobook.
That's what works for you right now.
That's what works for me right now. And I will get to a point where I can read these books a lot more consistently, but I'm not there yet. I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm there.
And Miles, I just want to make a small comment. I think knowing that it's a choice is that's what makes it a choice. The fact that you know it's a choice. For people who don't know that it's a choice, which they are.
You're just trying to have the last word. I see you, bro.
But think about it. There are people who really, once you tell them, hey, you being sad right now is a choice, they go, oh, I can change my emotions. There are people who genuinely, ignorance is like, it puts you on this treadmill of, you don't have choice when you're ignorant. You need to be aware of the choices to be able to even have a choice to begin with. So I just wanted to mention that.
Bring it out.
I just saw the quote, like just piggybacking on what you guys said. It's like, he said, choosing to be yourself. Think of it like that, The hardest thing is not doing what you want. It's knowing what you want, right? And just not doing it, right? So that part of it, right? You just know it. Right, this is what I can, but then it's actually in the knowing. That's where the problem is, and I'm like, there we go. That's it. These are just these snippets of wisdom that I'm like, Naval, what do you say?
But that's true. I guess that's why they say ignorance is bliss. Because
it really is.
It really is bliss. Because I think it absolves you from so much responsibility. You know, like just choosing not to know, or like being in a position where you don't know, or don't want to change, or you, for example, somebody who says and decides, you know, no, I'm a bad person, or I don't want to do anything. It's one of those things where accepting that absolves you from the responsibility that comes with needing to change, and it's really, really hard to do that. And you know better, but it's hard, bro.
It's hard. And that's the word. That's the word Kat was talking about.
It is.
That's the word.
It's
But
difficult.
it first comes from that self-awareness.
100%.
If it comes from if it comes from some politician or some motivational speaker just saying doing that, and you just do that blindly, then it'll be like, no, I'm just part of the culture.
Right.
You know,
It has to come from self-aware. No, I agree with you 100%.
I have a question.
Yeah, hit it.
Would the people sitting here say this is the best book of its kind on wealth and happiness?
I want Tshego to
Could
go
you say
first.
that there's no better book, at least that you've read, on these topics, on wealth, on happiness,
I want Tshego to go first.
Okay, yeah, she can go first.
especially on wealth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
when you touch that.
personally, so far, yes. I'm yet to find a book that's better, much better. But for me, it's a very practical book. I can apply a lot of the things that are in the book. Reading the book the first time, I was wowed. Every page, chapter, line, paragraph, I was like, so many quotes. I don't even know anymore. Like, I just thought, I even started sending the book to people, like the PDF, because I was so tired of shotting, screen grabbing, and posting it. I was like, guys, here you go. I felt like this person deserves to read this because they're ready. And I knew people who are on the investment journey. I knew people who were like on the journey that I was on, or I am. So I felt like it's a book I could read over and over and over again, or listen to it over and over and over again. It's very practical, and it's something you can practice over time and get it right, get it wrong, get it right, and master it. Because I think there's an undertone of time as well. They mention when he succeeded certain things at a certain age, and they don't focus too much on that. But it doesn't say that you as Katlego are supposed to achieve this at 37 at whatever time. That guy, the guy that you listen to, the white guy.
Jordan B. Peterson.
No. The motivational speaker dude.
White guy.
The very passionate guy. I forgot his name. But he talks about time a lot and how in your 20s you're supposed to...
Gary V.
Yeah.
Gary V. Yeah.
He talks about time and how important it is that it's not about...
Really loud and passionate.
It's not about like following a script.
So I
That
gotta
at
tell you
this-
something. By the age of 30,
Yeah, he gives you that grace that no, as long as you're alive, as long as you're alive, you can still succeed in the things that you want.
I think they
right?
asked him what's really late for him, and he was like 50 or something, or 60 or
There's
something.
someone right now in UNISA, 60 years old, studying to become something, right?
That's crazy.
And that's the conversation you try and have to awake some consciousness in some of our... Because you said you could relate to me in terms of the family, right?
Yeah.
That's the conversation you try and have, and you'd be like,
You
look,
still got
you
time.
could still do something. No, I get a fedite. And I'm like, you can still do something, though. Anyway,
I think, okay, so for me, in terms of wealth, yes. In terms of happiness, no.
You haven't even touched it.
we haven't even got to that
happiness.
because I disagree with you. The happiness one, because it was so simple that I was like, damn, I'm overcomplicating this happiness thing.
No. But the reason I say that is because this book felt like it was building upon a book that I...
Sorry. For those who don't know, Miles, just before you continue, the book is split into two
parts.
Right? Part one is happiness, part one is wealth, part two is happiness.
Yeah.
That was that reference.
So for me, this is definitely the best book I've read on wealth. Because it simplifies the process so much. And I think it was the most relatable because it wasn't giving like... it wasn't giving prescriptive ideas of what it is that you need to do, most of which just wasn't applicable to my context. You know, I think that was the thing that was that made certain books or self-help books quite unrelatable for me. It was always like, it has to look like this, you know? And when it didn't look like this, all of a sudden you felt like
These are the 10 steps you need to take
bruh,
in order to change your life today.
you know what I mean? And it talks about how, you know, like you gotta wake up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. Bruh, me waking up at 5 a.m. is because I gotta be at the hospital at 5:30. I don't have time to do everything else that you guys are talking about in the morning, you know? And then you want to get into the hustle grind culture, blah, blah, blah. But this book was one of the first where it was just like, if you really want to know what it's like get to being wealthy, you need to figure out what the best version of you is. That for me was one of the most like freeing things about the book, because it validated everything about who I am to say, okay, cool. So maybe the first thing isn't, shit, I need to wake up at 5 a.m. It's, what time is the most productive time for me?
Look at that.
You know? And it took
like a lie.
It took really, really abstract concepts and it made them personal for me. So for me, in that regard, it was the best book.
And even like to the point of specific knowledge, what used to just be general words like wealth, like there was another one, compound interest. So I like how, first of all, you can say wealth, but then you realize that you can have wealth can be different. It's not
wealth
just
of knowledge.
It's not just money. Yeah, you can have a wealth of knowledge, wealth of people, exactly. And even with compound interest, just the idea
of
that
compounded
that
knowledge.
It's not just money that compounds. It's not a mathematical only number thing. It doesn't only just apply to numbers. Like your relationships compound as well.
As long as you're there every day.
Yes, because you'd think these things are ethereal. Things like relationships, that they don't follow laws. And he shows you that there's a law. You can work on relationships, and if you apply the same principles that you apply to your investing, to investing in people and your relationships, then at some point the returns from that investment will start to compound. Not just your relationships, other things as well. You know, your reputation as well. You can invest in your reputation, just like you invest in any other asset, right?
Exactly.
And then there's, at a certain point, your returns will start coming from that investment.
100%.
So he has a talent for that.
So in that regard, it was definitely the best book I've read on wealth. In terms of happiness, the reason I say it's not the best book for me is simply because this compounded on a lot of knowledge from a book that I had read before called Mindfulness in Plain English. It's not a very well-known book. It's a book written by, I had to Google his name because I don't even know it off by heart. It's Henepola Gunaratana. I might be pronouncing that wrong, and I apologize.
He sounds like he's got something important to say. Who?
Bro.
Just by the name alone.
Henepola Gunaratana. Yeah. I might be pronouncing it wrong. If he ever hears this, I deeply apologize if I am. But he took... So the book is actually about meditation. It teaches people how to meditate. But he speaks about this concept of how the reason that we focus on breathing, you know, is because there were two things about this analogy that blew my mind. Like, okay, so he talks about how breathing is the one thing that connects you to everybody, you know, so, and every other living thing. So the reason you focus on it is because it humbles you. It connects you to everything that's living. But the second thing was what was so profound. He was like, breathing and every breath you take is a lot like every moment of life, in that no two breaths are ever the same, in that every breath has a birth, life, and death. Each of them have their own different volumes. Each of them have their different rates. And if you look at like life in general, part of the reason that we end up being so miserable is because you spend so much time running towards the future or running away from your past. You never spend time in the present because you categorize everything else as neutral. And he spoke about it too, where he spoke about the neutral things are actually probably the best place to be because it means you're here, you know, you're present. And so in this book, he was talking about how if you look at...
Sorry, Miles, I just want to double click on that, right? So,
Piggyback, double click.
I just want to double click on that, right? Yeah. But I really...
I missed this trend.
I really like that, and I think you can't go understated. I think you get the concept well, but for the people who are listening in, I think what you're saying, right? I'm going to try to say it back to you to see if I understand. that we're either thinking that life is going to be better in the future somehow, right? Or it could be worse if I don't do something.
Yes.
Or we're saying the past has been bad, or you're trying to relive it. It's been really good, and I want the past to be as good.
This is what I want to emphasize now. So let me
hold on. Let me finish it. But just on the neutrality because I really want to say this. What you said about the neutral stuff is probably the best stuff, right? Like, okay, this is not so neutral. This is a bit of a highlight moment. We're having a podcast. you just ever find yourself sitting, right? Like the other day, I was laying on the floor. Tshego was watching TV. The most neutral thing you can imagine. There was nothing exciting. I didn't get money in my bank account, or nothing was going on except we were chilling. And in that moment, I'm like, wow, things are okay in this moment. And in that, I was like, that's so incredible that right now things are okay. Like there's nothing to worry about. And I think that's
I think to drive this point home, like I need to finish the analogy to be able to drive the point home, because you know when he speaks about
yeah,
so to be able to drive that point home, you know, like he emphasizes how, you know, problems are, we're always trying to move towards the future, or run away from the past. And if you look at breathing, when you just allow it to happen, you're fine. The second you hold on to a breath longer than its lifespan, the very same thing that gives you life can kill you. That blew my mind, because I think he focused a lot on the idea that a lot of us look at our past and we're like, the good times are gone. You try to hold on to that.
And it's starting to kill you.
And it starts to kill you.
Yeah.
Or the idea of better times kills you because you can't appreciate the good times now. And so for me, that was like the gateway to the importance of awareness, and just how happiness is really in the simplest things.
It's in the present.
So for me, this book emphasized a lot of those things, and it reiterated a lot of those things, but it wasn't the foundation for me. And that's why it wasn't the best book. But it builds on it. Like if it was the first book I had read on this, it probably would have been.
I don't want to say the best, because honestly, I don't like at this point. I think it caught me at the right time, and I think I said this to you guys as well. I think it really just caught me at a time when I was prepared to listen really well and really openly, and really prepared to change myself. You know, I was really in a what's it called, self-improvement stage in my life where I was like, nah. This is not gonna fly. You know, who I'm being right now and who I've been up till now, it's not gonna fly. We need to do something about this. You know,
he quit his job.
And the reason I say it's one of the good, and I not to summarize, because how you've explained the book that you read from Mr. What's his face?
What's his name?
His name is Hennapola, from Mr. Hennapola. But not to summarize, but Naval, no, not Naval. I think it's Naval, or either it's Eric or Naval. Sometimes I get it switches, right, in between the book. Sometimes it's Eric talking, sometimes it's Naval. Anyway, the book says happiness, right? The thing that people miss from happiness is the idea that something is missing, like right now, like something is not there.
I see Emmanuel, he's so excited because
Because I put it on the group. I was like, that's the one. That's the one.
It's the idea that, okay, right now, in this very moment, Kishota, just a bit. Kishota, you know, if only there was, you know,
if only.
And that's where your happiness is missing. And that one-liner did that for me. I mean, whoa.
No, literally, because I think the words he uses that desire is the contract the contract that you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get that thing.
Oh my
God. Fucking gosh, bro. When I heard this shit, I was like, what?
Thanks.
I kept on repeating it, like I kept on going back.
Oh my! I think that's the best quote I've ever heard in my life.
It is.
He's like, happiness. No, desire is the contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you desire. Oh my fucking God. What?
Exactly. And once you see it like that, automatically you're like, snap, I need to reduce my desires.
Desires you have.
I don't need all this shit. Honestly. I don't need all this shit.
How
Which
can
is
I
why
be
you
more
can be
present?
less unhappy
powerful-
then. You know?
What's powerful is that even if you don't desire things, you can still get them. Like, right? It's like right now, I don't need to desire a big house and a mansion for me to still move in the direction to getting it.
Exactly.
Right? I can still work on myself. I can care about this. I can care more about I'm with my friends. We're doing a podcast. We're talking. We're growing. We're positive. I don't desire a big house. My house is enough. And by still doing this stuff, reading books, what the big house will
just
still
comes.
come.
Like, we
so
need
people
more room.
think, so when you tell people stop caring about like the house and the stuff and stop wanting it, they're like, you're crazy, dude. What's more important in life than success and wealth? And I want a nice life.
Yeah.
Just stop wanting it.
See, that's-
Want what you have, and those things will come.
See, that's the thing. I think that's the big thing. What's more important than success? The problem is making success a destination.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a direction. You know,
jeez.
The whole
Again,
direction.
when I go back to Dow, right? Success, failure. It's a whole spectrum.
It's a
right?
whole
You're
spectrum.
succeeding in life right now. Just keep going, my guy.
You know,
Just
like-
keep going.
Exactly.
one of
Masego,
my-
I
one
think
of
that
my-
was
Yes.
you missed the signal.
I missed the signal for
Tshego.
I thought he was calling me.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I thought he missed. I should give you a side eye. I was like, you're missing a signal or something.
Like,
They call that Jada side eye. Who needs to be slapped right now?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
My one friend Matthew, shout out Matthew. He told me something that like blew my mind. I don't know if he thought of it or if he read it. I can't remember how he phrased it, but he said to me that if you look at somebody like Floyd Mayweather, who's undefeated, that's why we respect him so much, because he's never lost a battle. And then you look at yourself, the fact that you are still here today means you're undefeated. You've won every battle you've gone into.
Facts.
Every single battle you've had, you won that shit, bro.
You're still here.
You still here, nigga.
Exactly.
Still here.
That shit blew my mind because it put into perspective the idea that success really is a direction.
Yeah, it's just a direction.
It's a direction.
Just a direction.
Dow, man. That when he said that, I related it to Dow immediately. Darwinism, because that's the strong.
That's the compounding knowledge.
Yeah,
You know that's happening.
yeah.
Reading from Dow and then bringing it here.
Yeah.
As well.
Even in Dow, I was relating things to
Compounding knowledge, you see.
I was talking about things fall apart even when we were reading Dow too.
Yes,
So
100%.
I do it all the time. Facts.
Emmanuel, we're still answering the question
Yeah.
of, is this the best book in its class?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so for happiness, for me, that one-liner did its best thing, did its thing.
Foundation.
I don't want to say best, but it did its thing. That line did its thing. And then in terms of wealth, I think it's the best only because I'm using it. Actually, I looked at it, I was like, this is a good guide.
Yeah.
Now I'm using it, I'm keeping it next to me
Yeah.
as I journey, because like I said earlier, I quit my job. So I'm using it as a guide to keep me sane and to keep me like in my, because I know exactly what I feel. When you find purpose and you find like peace in that, it's like, you know what, I'm at peace now. I know exactly which way I'm going that way. You find peace in that, you become rooted in that, right? And then life happens and it starts knocking at your door. People start telling you, you're crazy, you're quitting. And then, so I think it's really good for me. I don't want to say the best. I really don't want to rank these books because
It's
honestly, all of them have
working in-
something really important to say.
yeah.
I think I get that. It's hard to rank these books
Yeah,
because
I
I
don't
feel
want
like
to rank them. Everyone has something to say, and it was all important.
And it's this-
who knows? Maybe this guy was just catching me at the right time. That's what I mean.
to be honest, this is also not really the first time I've come across this book. Like I came across it, I think 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember reading it the first few pages, and I was like,
It's all right, right? And then now, today, it's like, it's crazy.
and it's because I don't think I had an appreciation for the content. Like, me, I was still in my grind, hustle, success.
Yeah.
Like, I need it now. I was still in that fiery, like, unbridled, just. Man, fuck everything. I need to be successful right now. That was where I was at. So anything that was trying to put things into context or perspective for me,
It wasn't working.
it wasn't
All that
working.
noise,
They
all
needed
that
the
noise.
time.
Would you say you're more effective now that you're a lot calmer?
A lot more effective.
I
Absolutely.
just wanted to put that out there for people who are still.
I can give you an example of, like, for example, school. Like, my friends sometimes say that you are, like, one of the most, like you don't study, Miles, bro. Like you're always I'm always grooving, guys. So like people are saying like, man, you don't study, blah blah blah. No, I study a lot, but I don't stress about it because it's like it's not doing anything for me. This idea that like, yo, I gotta be up till 3 a.m. to it's not doing shit for me, bruh. I really just got to a point where I try to make studying something that was really enjoyable for me to do. So I would do it in conversation with people. You know, it's now we're talking about the content, and we made medicine like a conversational style. I studied medicine, by the way. It was we made it a thing of conversation. And it was amazing when we started doing it like that because suddenly the work didn't seem as overwhelming and it didn't seem that deep. You know,
it went from and I think it's highlighted. There's a book. I forgot who it's, but I think it's Atomic Habits as well, where they say that the switch that happened there is that studying became not something you do, but who you are. And that's why it's an identity thing. That makes it easy.
No facts.
I'm proud of
He made it.
He made it. We're just watching. Before he walks
I've
the
been looking at
transport.
Gatli the whole time, and I've just been thinking to myself, like, I see why Naval was talking about kids. You know? Because you look at Gatli right now, and it's like...
Low battery, okay.
He has, like, no sense of identity, so he's literally always happy.
He's always happy.
He's literally always happy.
Okay. But then, just...
Otherwise...
Best book, Emmanuel.
Best book, right? Like, last year, I walked into Masego's place and I forgot what we were doing. I think we were just talking about some of the Strictly items, right? And Masego was like, have you heard about Naval? Right? I'm like, no, I haven't. He put it on YouTube. I sat there and I looked at Masego directly. I was like, this is the guy. This is the guy because he speaks exactly to the fundamentals, right? The other books, they're great, right? They're helpful, right? But they were not fundamentals, like where you can reach back and be like, this makes sense long term, right? This is timeless over here. Because his statements on, on wealth specifically, you're talking about wealth, all of those other methods, right, could produce in me high anxiety, right? That hustle culture where it's just someone telling me or some motivational speaker telling me, do this, do this, do that. I'm like, I don't know why. It's just what the culture is. Go until 4 o'clock studying, do this, do that. And I'm like, it'll wear me out. But as soon as I heard
don't know why. Sorry, like that I don't know why the fuck I'm doing this.
I don't know why.
Like,
but I'm like, I'm assimilating because this person is doing it, looks cool, let me also do that. But when Naval started speaking, right? So a lot of the concepts that are in this book, I've already heard them from podcasts and I'm like, here we go. It's repeating again. So I'm like, already by then, that's switched. So exactly, Kat, it's not to necessarily say the best, right? Because they all work in so many different ways, but foundationals that I can go back to be like, wherever I'm at, I can go back to these foundations and see the wealth.
No, it's a guide. It's a guide.
It's a guide.
It's not like a book like that. It's a guide. You gotta keep it. You gotta go back.
Keep it.
Some days you're gonna be like, man, this sucks. I don't want to work today. Just be like,
one time.
Change your perspective.
And just a young point also on the happiness, right? He started that section with we pursue wealth, health, and happiness. But in truth, we should actually pursue it in the reverse order, right? Where it's happiness, health, and then wealth. And I'm like, there we go. You see, even that, what a statement, right? We started the book with wealth, but we should actually pursue it with happiness.
I feel like you threw the book across the room so many times as you read this shit. Just like,
so many times. I'm like, I'm done.
Which one is this one?
This one right here.
You're just busy spitting bars your time.
Bars upon bars. And there's one thing, right, where he said, like, there's so many things that he said, but he was like, reality is neutral, right? It will have a way of reflecting your feelings back at you, right? And I'm like, look at that. Look at that. So therefore, happiness, right? I can choose to be like, in this moment, I'm not happy. Reality is neutral. Reality hasn't done anything to you. It just is.
Down.
It just is. And once you see it like that, it's like, snap. Therefore, I can see how I can train my head I can train myself to develop the skill of being present, of being happy, of being, intentional about the things I do. And I'm like, no, that's it. And, there was a comment, just this last comment, right? I think my brother's bachelor's wedding, right? I was telling the gents there, guys, everything is everything, right? And I'm like, I didn't fully understand what that meant, right? I just said it, but I'm like, it makes so much sense, right?
So why did you say it?
it made sense.
Because I had some knowledge to understanding it, but I couldn't really picture
You don't
exactly.
gotta understand what he's saying, but it's
everything is.
provocative.
Get the people going.
People going, and it really did at that point.
No, like when you make the edits, you have to add the song in.
You have to add it in, bro.
Jeez, okay. I'm gonna try.
But yeah, you see that movement itself, I was like, it makes more sense that everything is everything. It just is. And now reading this book as well, a compound on that knowledge to be like, everything is just neutral, right? You can actually train yourself in your desires, in the way you look at things, in your intention, in your perspective. Kendrick says, everything's perspective as well. I'm like, there we go. By that virtue, I can choose to be happy all the time. Is it easy? Hell no.
It's not.
But then it's like changing that mindset, you know, having that ability to change yourself. And I'm like, from that, this
Can I make a
book
comment there? You know, I
amazing.
think it's one of those things where one of the things he mentioned was just that he uses the word happiness, but what he really means is peace. Because happiness is a fleeting feeling. It comes and goes. You know, like when you look at, I think that's probably the problem as well, is that we chase these emotions, and once it comes, you're so busy trying to hold on to it that you're not feeling the emotion anymore. You're just feeling the anxiety of the fear that comes with losing it. You know, and when you look at what he really tries to speak about, even though he uses the term happiness, what he's really speaking about is the state of being of peace. Because peace is unwavering. Peace is there even if you are sad. Because there's a deeper understanding that the sadness will pass. It's one of those breaths that you just need to let go of at some point in time. You know, and another thing that he said was, one moment of suffering is when you see things exactly as they are, not as how you perceive them to be. And that speaks to how a lot of the times I think we have a very distorted idea of what reality looks like. And when reality comes and hits you in the face, that's when you suffer the most, because you realize just how wrong you were.
Some people don't get hit in the face; they just die. And it's like, well, there goes another wasted life. It's just not to say that like life is wasted or whatever. No, not to, like, you know. But I mean, like, you never got to see like life for what it is. You just died thinking Trump cared about you or something.
Let me say this.
You know,
Judging by how this conversation went, I think everybody sitting on this table should be proud of themselves or recognize that they are happy if you thought you weren't. Judging by that definition of peace, because I think peace is just, I think peace is not an emotion, right?
It's
Even though
being.
even though we're trying to describe it in the same realm as happiness and all these other things, but it's what's happening right now. The fact that nothing is wrong, I think that's peace. Like, nothing is wrong.
Fuck with that quote.
And there's some people who, even like, if you've listened to other podcasts, you can identify like that person unelinking, like he's not all right. There's people you can look at and you're like, that person's not okay, right? Everything they're engaging in, right? Like we said, things are what they are, but you can tell this person wants to argue, wants to just for no reason, wants to. There's a problem inside of them, right? So the fact that everybody can just have a neutral a normal conversation, you might underestimate that, but I think that's what the peace we're talking about is, just being all right, right? I don't know if you still had stuff to say.
I think now, piggyback.
Back on that.
double click.
You know, like when you speak about that, it's he mentioned how there's three things you can do when you're faced with the situation. You can either change it, accept it, or leave it. And the biggest part of peace is really just acceptance. You know, it's just, and you know, like I think we've put the idea of acceptance very, like we've put it out of perspective, because a lot of people think that acceptance is conforming, you know, or just not doing anything, or it's the idea of, oh no, like it's just how it is, you know. Acceptance isn't necessarily that. It's just, this is how it is right now. There's literally, like, bruh, this is how it is right now. Shit is
It doesn't mean you have to do nothing about it.
You know, like it's the moment you're in, like it's how it is right now.
But that's the nuance.
And that's the nuances that most people miss, because they're so busy trying to like fight all the time, you know?
Yeah, and just off your layup, I'm just gonna say that.
New word later.
Because it's perfect. Because just on the now because of the joke I forgot, but it's important. I think I remember. Yes, you said just because of the nuance, right? You said something about nuance, and on that point, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is probably I think it's one of the best books. I say this with every book that we read for some reason.
Yeah, you do.
But on wealth, right? On specifically wealth and happiness, I think it's the nuance that sets this book apart from every other book out there on wealth and happiness. I think because Naval is both a philosopher and a very successful investor, right? We didn't say this in the beginning, we probably should have, but he's a very successful investor, invested in Twitter early on. He founded AngelList, serial entrepreneur, etc., etc. He's very wealthy, right? Even by his own definition. But he's also a philosopher, and I think the level I've listened to his book recommendations, and it's like The Way to Love. That's the books that he likes by D'Amelio, something like that. Books like by Krishna Maruti, right? These are very high spiritual authorities, right? And you know how Eastern tradition and their spirituality is so regarded, so high, right? We read the Tao Te Ching and we saw how different that is from any other kind of spirituality or religion. I think it's a combination of those things that later in your life, as you get to know yourself better, and if you ever read this book again when you're 40, I think you're going to realize just how much you've missed initially when reading it. Just how, and it's in the details. The devil is in the details with this book, because you're going to hear the same things about wealth throughout your entire life, right? But for the student who's ready, the level of nuance that Naval provides is unparalleled. It's that thing where two people who get it in a room can look at each other like, it's the way.
You don't even know.
It's the way
He's the happiness.
right? And it's kind of like, I remember, Katli, when we initially started talking, I was like, Kendrick, oh my God, you don't understand. And you were like, yeah, he's good. I don't want to say like he's, right? I think it's the same energy. Like, I don't want to say it's the best, but, it was pretty good. It was pretty, he's good. I mean, I think one day you're going to be like, oh, God. He was actually always a tier above so many people, because just think about it. He's talking about wealth and happiness, but it's so
simple.
Like, it's different from what you've heard, like you guys are saying. It's
so simple.
different. It's not stressful. It feels like he's figured it out.
You know how I
just-
feel.
I think-
You know how I feel, right? Sorry. Not you know how I feel. I think because like I'm giving this not the best perspective. Tao, right? We just learned about this. I have to know bad to know best, didn't it?
100%.
Right?
100%.
So I'm just
You
going
were spoiled from the beginning.
Now you're spoiling me early on, Like I'm going to go and pick up another book. I know I've got maybe 2, Napoleon Hill and Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
Yeah.
To reference. So out of those 3, sure. But I can't go,
100%.
it's the best. Like I don't have enough bad context. Actually, this one was bad.
have
This
enough
one was
bad
bad.
players.
This one was bad. You know what I
And
mean?
above and beyond that, again, it's a context thing. Because like when I read Napoleon Hill the first time, I was like, shit. Oh my God. When I read Rich Dad Poor Dad the first time, I was like, oh, jeez, my fuck. What? Why am I in school, Dad? What am I doing? Like it was crazy. And it's because at the time, that was the context I had to work with. So like, I think one of the big things I've learned, especially like at our age, you can't be too sure. Because I think being too sure puts you in a position where you're just not in, you don't have, and I don't mean in this book in particular, but just in general, like you just don't have the openness to be able to experience better.
100%.
So it's I think I feel where you're coming from when you have that restraint in terms of wanting to say this is or this isn't the best, just because, bruh. Do you know how little I've read?
Me and him had this conversation the other day about programming languages. You've just got into Python and JavaScript now.
100%.
And you can't go out and say JavaScript's the best, Python's the best. You can't do that. You haven't tried Golang.
It's tools.
You haven't
What
tried
works
any
at
of
that
this.
time,
Yeah,
100%.
you haven't tried any of these things, So it's like, okay, you're talking, but you're talking out the side of your neck, really.
And a lot of like the gems that you will find might not even be very like I told you, this book, Mindfulness in Plain English, no one fucking knows that book. No one knows it. And it wasn't even written for the purpose of it being that deep. It was supposed to teach you how to meditate. And I walked out of this book. I don't have life-changing moments. Like I don't believe in like life-changing moments, because I think to do that you prevent yourself from being able to experience every moment as it comes.
Exactly.
But that book.
Was a life-changing moment.
Like, don't get me wrong, that was life-changing.
Yeah.
This is crazy. People who are really into literature, there's this word in the spaces of literature, canon, right? When we say this is in the literary canon, or I think it's Jordan B. Peterson who says, he uses this as an adjective. He says, that book is canonical.
Oh my God, that's such a Jordan Peterson thing to say, yeah.
Right?
Fucking deep as hell.
But what has been part of the canon, this idea of books that are, I think Jordan describes it the best, saying books that have the most influence on other books can be considered canonical. So the Bible is canonical because it influenced literally everything that came after it, right? And the other books, so Shakespeare, a lot of his work is canonical. Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart is canonical. But that was way back then. And I think we need to discuss, like, moving forward, right, with the new challenges that the world that we're moving into, artificial intelligence, smart cities, more connectedness, globalization, we're going to need new canonical works, right? Yeah. And you can only obviously decide it after time has passed, what's going to be canonical, right? That's really going to be the test of the knowledge of this book, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say Naval, with the kind of fundamental knowledge that
is on that level of canonical.
He's on that level of this is going to influence a lot of people on how they think about wealth, happiness,
100%,
how to move.
100%.
So people need to know that this book is important. You need to read this book.
100%.
Right?
I think
who's this book for? Can we, if we were moving towards a conclusion, I don't know how you guys feel.
Who's this book for?
Who would this book be for?
I would say...
Let's start with actually Tshego and go all the way around.
Okay, cool.
I think anyone starting a journey in investing, yeah, I think...
You would suggest it to them?
Yeah.
100%. Miles?
I think this is for anybody who just doesn't want to... For anybody who feels like they don't want to... And I just need to think about how to phrase this. This is the type of book for somebody who doesn't want to have to be someone different. You know, like, I think a lot of wealth and happiness books have this nuanced idea of you must change who you are. This is the book...
How to optimize who you are.
Yes, this is the book that teaches you how to be the most authentic self.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, achieve health and
still be worth
wealth and happiness.
Wealth.
Exactly.
I was gonna say that. Not that exactly. Not that exactly. No. But I was gonna say this is for someone who's starting to see how unauthentic everything is, or how fake everything is, and who's like,
take it off.
This is all bells and whistles going on here. What's going on? Kissing ass to the boss, this guy. Like always trying to show his code off so that he can, like, damn man, relax. We all worked on that. We worked together. Let's just be what it is, you know. So when people start to see that side of life, I think it's for those people who are conscious to that thing. They're like, okay, is this how it has to be? Yeah. Do I have to make sure that I'm in the gym always so that I can get there? And when this guy says, "No, you're lying. Hey, you're lying. It's actually this. Look at me. I'm smarter." Like, does it have to be like that, or can it just be? I'm gonna let the kid do his thing, man. I'm gonna let him run himself out. I already know what I need to know. I'm happy. I'm at peace. I'm content. Let him go. Let him rant. Let him kiss. Put your tongue in his ass and everything.
Yeah, because like
I'm chilling, you know. So
sorry, I know we have like a sequence that we're going for, but I just feel like this is like the one. It's one of the few books that I've read that doesn't. It doesn't make you feel like your context is wrong, you know? It doesn't make you feel like, oh no, like you started at the wrong level.
And you should have invested. You should have started investing when you were 12. Now you're screwed.
Like it doesn't make it feel like it's too late for you. You know, it doesn't have this idea that, like, it's all encompassing in terms of just how you can be whoever you were and whoever you want to be. As long as you identify what that is and take it that way.
I think, sorry, just before you answer, Emmanuel, I think that's part of You see, that's what I mean, that like as you grow and you read this book, the level of nuance he's imbued in this is stuff that we're going to realize as we go, right? Because I think that's his philosophical side coming through. He's understanding that everything is because it has a place.
Exactly.
Not that you did it wrong, you did it wrong, you did it wrong.
Yes.
He speaks with all that knowledge going through him to say, hey, from where you are, this is how you optimize.
Exactly.
Because you're meant to be.
Because
from
most,
there, yeah,
because
100%.
most other, look, and I really don't want to bash other books because there's so much like good in a lot of these other
So
books. There
much.
really is so much good. But like most of it, at least in my experience, has always come from a feeling like I'm wrong right now. I'm not doing enough right now. I'm not enough right now. So I have to do this to be enough to get wealth. And I hated that feeling because a lot of the things you ended up doing just didn't feel authentic. It felt like I'm trying to.
You don't get it.
Why am I doing this? You know? Me, I like sleep, bro.
Exactly.
In my dream world, I do nothing and get paid a lot.
I'm paid a lot.
That's what I do.
Limiting your time. But yeah, to answer that question, right?
Who's the book for?
Who's the book for? It's really to the curious mind, eh? And I think it encompasses a lot of what you guys were also saying, where, you know, it's not also bashing the other books. It's you read the other books, right? Or other books, and then you reach a certain point in time, you'd be like, it's not the full, you know, it's not its fullness.
Perspective.
It's just perspective. It's just like, okay, no, it works right now here for this shortest of time, but I'm still curious, what is the underlying thing about this life thing, this happiness thing, this wealth thing, you know? I'm like, should I copy this person? Should I copy this robustly like that? Oh no, is there something deeper to it? And I'm like, that's what this book answers, right? It's to the curious mind that always wants to seek wisdom and understand how does this world and how my interaction with this world, how does that actually play a part and how does that function? So
this is the only wealth book I've ever read that doesn't force relatability. It doesn't force it by this
Funny that the last book we read was the only religious book we've ever read
that doesn't force relatability.
Doesn't force us to do anything. You know,
it doesn't. But when I say force relatability, you know, sometimes I think certain books will be designed for a certain market, which is people who are trying to become wealthy. So the writer will often use examples of people who are also not wealthy or whatever the case may be, like, oh no, they came from the gutter and whatnot. Then it's like, it's a forced relatability because now you look at this person and you start thinking, yo, damn it, man. If he could do this, why couldn't I? You know? And it comes, like your motivation comes from a perspective of lack.
Yeah.
This doesn't do that. You know, there's no lack that you feel when you read this book.
Nah, you get a sense of appreciation. Like, thank you. I'm glad I read this.
Again, like, relating to the previous book. We felt, well, a lot of people in life feel ungodlike, you know.
Yeah, when you read,
They say God created you in his image in a lot of the popular books. So, you know, a lot of us feel ungodlike when we're walking around full of sin and all that.
Other religions.
I know I'm using Christians references, but forgive me, other religions. I haven't dived too deep into your books. But the
Tao Te Ching comes in and say, you're okay the way you are.
Says you are God, dog. You just gotta keep moving, dog.
Just know who you are so that now your moves moving forward can be intentional.
100%.
Right.
It's a lot. So
really so for me to answer the question, who's this book for? I struggle with deciding whether it's a book for a beginner or whether it's a book for a.
When you say beginner, what do you mean? When you say beginning, what do you mean?
What I mean by beginner, is it a book you can give to anyone?
But what do you mean by beginner? Because
is it a book you can give to anyone who's on any level?
You know you can't do that.
But you see, that's what I struggle with.
I think you're trying to say like a beginner in terms of self-awareness.
I mean, there are people at this table who said they've read the book and it didn't do anything before. Besides Tshego. Tshego had the light bulb, 100%. Miles didn't.
I didn't. Okay, but I didn't finish it. I read a few pages and I was like,
Okay,
you know,
so
some people probably have picked it up and been like, meh.
If that's the case, then for me, this book is it's versatile in terms of who it can approach and what level you need to be on to appreciate the things in here. But I think to really appreciate it like I do, you need to be already have been on the journey of trying to build wealth, self-discovery.
I also think
I think the book is for everyone, but the person who has experience is going to get a lot more out of it.
True.